When the world's two biggest economic powers engage in a trade war, the rest of the world is left watching and wondering where it will all end. If this week is anything to go by, it could mean an escalation. The ongoing protracted tit-for-tat trade dispute between China and the United States did intensify this week, so much so that it prompted a warning from the OECD. The Paris-based think tank says that the world's economy can't keep growing if things don't improve on the trade front. China has now slapped tariffs on around $60 billion worth of US goods. That move, a retaliation for the latest round of US tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese products. Al Jazeera's Scott Heidler reports now from Beijing.
Shalom, I give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Quadash. I give double honors to our apostles and elders, a great millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim pushing his word out across four corners of the earth. This is a lesson from GMSDedication, and the title says, China, Russia warned U.S. of consequences over sanctions. This came out today, September the 21st. It says, Moscow and Beijing lashed out Friday at Washington's new anti-Russian sanctions that also target China for the first time, warning the U.S. could face consequences. The U.S. is playing with fire, Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister, Sergei Ryabko said. And that's a very powerful statement that this Russian Deputy Foreign Minister said, playing with fire. And that's very spiritual, because if you read the scriptures and you know about what's about to happen at the so-called end times, that's how this place is going to go out. This place I'm talking about is America, Babylon the Great. It's going to go out by fire. And it's pursuant to Isaiah 9:5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, going back into these ancient battles, how they used to fight. But this should be with burning and fury of fire. All right, so we'll get back to the article. Another powerful statement right here is coming up, what China said. So I'll go back here. It says the U.S. is playing with fire, Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabko said, while Beijing voiced strong indignation over the move. And that's another biblical term right there, indignation, which means righteous anger or righteous judgment. And that was a spiritual statement as well. So this is Isaiah, the 13th chapter. Just get to the point, the 4th verse. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. And this is going to the battle of Armageddon. The Lord of hosts mustered the hosts of the battle. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. And the weapons of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai's indignation are those nuclear missiles, those ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. And just another precept, just to link up with it. This is Isaiah 34th chapter in the 1st verse. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. Verse 2. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He had utterly destroyed them. He had delivered them to the slaughter. And this is going to those nuclear missiles. On down is going to go to how the heavens is going to be dissolved, and they're going to be rolled together as a scroll. I was talking about that mushroom cloud from those nuclear missiles being shot off. So that's how we know that indignation, or the Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai's indignation, is really those nuclear missiles. And also those chariots, known as the so-called UFOs, they're going to get their bidding in on this place as well. So that's Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai putting his spirit on these different nation leaders to say aggressive statements like that, because we are in a time of war. And Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, he's controlling every single move these different leaders are making or saying. And to prove that, this is Proverbs, the 21st chapter in the 1st verse. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So that's why you seeing things are getting more and more aggressive now. Because we at the times that America's about to get ready to go to war with Russia, China, Iran, and also those different allies of America. They're going to turn against America. I will get back to the article. It says, united in their resentment of America's global influence, China and Russia have sought in recent years to tighten up their ties, and this month conducted week-long joint military drills, Moscow's largest ever war games. On Thursday, China, which is also locked in a trade war with Washington, got caught up in a sanctions war against Russia as the U.S. announced a new raft of measures that will punish third countries for dealing with Moscow. Stepping up pressure on Moscow over its malign activities, the U.S. State Department said it was placing financial sanctions on the Equipment Developmental Department of the Chinese Ministry of Defense and its top administrator for its recent purchase of Russian Sukhoi Su-35 fighter jets and S-400 surface-to-air missile systems. Beijing on Friday urged the U.S. to withdraw sanctions or bear the consequences. You see, these statements are getting more and more aggressive. The U.S. actions have seriously violated the basic principles of international relations and seriously damaged the relations between the two countries and the two militaries, said Foreign Ministry spokesman Yin Shaoyin, adding Beijing had lodged an official protest with the U.S. That's all U.S. is known for, violating different type of agreements, treaties, laws, all of that such. And we know that from the past how they tried to deal with the so-called Native Americans, the Gadites and the Reubenites, the so-called Seminole Indians today. They try to make different type of peace treaties with them. Every single peace treaty they made with the so-called Native Americans and so-called Seminole Indians, they broke them all. So the other nations should take heed from the past of the so-called white man, who they really are, which is the serpent, man, the devil, the deceiver. So going back to the article, it says, we strongly urge the U.S. to immediately correct their mistake and withdraw their so-called sanctions. Otherwise, the U.S. will have to bear the consequences. And those consequences are going to be World War III. They could probably try to piece it up and say, okay, everything is cool now. But at the end of the day, what we read from Proverbs, the 21st chapter and the first verse, Yahweh Bashem Shai, he's going to turn these kings' heart whithersoever he will, So we already know it's already about to gear up for World War III. That's the times that we're in, and you can actually feel it, man. So those are the times we're in, the times of World War III, the times of war. And this is 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. So those perilous times, those dangerous times, those threatening times are coming to the shores of America and across the four corners of the earth. This is the Most High's judgment on this place, really on this planet Earth, because he's tired of the rulers or the inhabitants of the planet Earth, leading by the so-called white man, known as the Edomites, according to the scriptures. That's why everything's out of order, out of course. And Yahweh Bashem Shai, he's going to set everything back in its right place by those nuclear missiles and those chariots. They're going to get their bidding in too on this place. So just a quick article right there. Lord willing, I'll leave it in the description box, and I hope it'll be edifying. Yahweh Bashem Shai, Brakathon. Shalom.
Within hours of the U.S. announcing a second round of tariffs on Chinese goods, Beijing responded. The Chinese Commerce Ministry saying it had no choice but to retaliate, and it hopes the U.S. changes its behavior. One official saying the move is poisoning trade talks.
Regarding America's new round of tariffs, China has no choice but to retaliate.
It was expected that the ongoing trade war could heat up. This new round of tariffs from Washington confirmed that.
And it will be a lot of money coming into the coffers of the United States of America, a lot of money coming in.
A lot of money in the form of tariffs on an additional $200 billion of Chinese imports. The U.S. government will begin collecting a 10% tariff on those goods starting on September the 24th through the end of the year. Then on January 1st, the tariffs will jump to 25%. And if China at any time retaliates, the White House says, an additional $267 billion of Chinese imports, practically the remainder of all Chinese products sold in the U.S., will also fall under the tariffs. The increased tensions will likely scuttle the renewal of trade talks between Beijing and Washington. While about 5,000 Chinese products, including household goods from vacuum cleaners to bikes, will be targeted, many U.S. businesses are expected to suffer as well. Just before the tariffs were announced in Washington, the Chinese Commerce Secretary said that U.S. protectionism won't only impact the two nations involved in this trade war, but it could hurt the global economy as well.